Welcome to Business Connection. I'm Liz Spencer. We have a wonderful guest in studio with an important subject. Her name is Leah Setzen, and she's a partner with Grunyk Family Law. And we're here to talk about family law and particularly divorce. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Our firm is Grunyk Family Law. We practice exclusively in the area of family law, which is everything from divorce to adoption, surrogacies, same-sex relationships, everything that relates to the family. And we're located in Naperville, so we're a community-based firm.
Well, that's great. And you said that family law is all-encompassing. You don't really know. I kind of compare it to family medicine, that sometimes you come in with an earache and the next thing you know you get everything else. So when somebody comes into you talking to you about divorce, you might find out so much more.
That's true. And we have great resources at our firm,
right,
too. So even if it's something that we don't necessarily handle directly, we have great attorneys who work with us or who we could refer them to.
That's awesome. Now, divorce, I love your motto of divorce with dignity, because it's a difficult time.
It is, absolutely. It's the hardest time in a person's life.
It is. And so with dignity, I think oftentimes there's stigma. And so when you go in to talk to somebody, you're in an emotional state. So it's nice to know that you're experienced with that and that you're coming into it with an idea that you're going to be all right.
Right. And try to help them go through the process, because it's not just focused on the end result, but it's getting the person, our client, through that process.
It's complicated, especially with children.
Absolutely. And emotional.
Mm-hmm. And there's lots of laws, and these laws are changing. What's the most important change coming up now?
So we have an entirely new framework for calculating child support. Up until now, it's been over 30 years, we've had a guideline-based support where we focused exclusively, for the most part, on the person who's paying their income, calculating what their net is, what their gross is, and then applying a percentage depending on how many children. As of July 1st, there's going to be this entirely new framework where we're going to look at both parents' incomes. We're going to add them together. And then there's a chart, and it has many, many numbers, many, many pages, because it goes from $1 a month to, I think, $30,000 a month as combined incomes. And the person who's paying is going to pay a percentage of the dollar amount in the chart for the number of children. So it sounds kind of complicated,
yes,
and it is. It's going to be a more complex calculation for child support starting July 1.
So what's driving this change?
Well, actually, we're the 40th state to do what's called income sharing. That's the new child support method of determining child support. It's called income sharing. We're the 40th state to do that. So, unfortunately, like maybe some other areas, Illinois has kind of lagged behind the times in modernizing its statutes. And the philosophy, not that I was responsible for drafting this bill or passing it, but the philosophy, as I understand it, is that it's looking at more the modern family, working parents, both parents working, both parents having significant time with the children and therefore having expenses for the children when the children are with that parent. And so factoring all those things in, they're going to look at both parents' incomes and apply the percentages depending on how many children, as I said, and also if one parent has almost half the time or 40% of the time or more with the children, there's going to be a further reduction in child support. So this statute looks at not only income, but time with the children.
Right, because now both parents are spending a lot more time. 20 years ago, it might have been more the chief child provider, child raiser, usually the mother, with most of the time and the father out of the home. And now they're saying it's equal and both parents are working.
Right. Not necessarily equal, but that both parents, for the most part, really, both parents do want to spend as much time as they possibly can. Even if you have a parent who works more than 40 hours a week, they still want to have the children several times a week, sometimes overnights. They certainly want every other weekend. And when you have children that much, you pay for them. You have to feed them. You have to clothe them. You have to drive them places. And so this more modern formula is factoring all of that in.
Well, and I think on the positive side, it's showing that both parents are now much more involved with that when a divorce happens.
Yes, definitely.
And now the courts are recognizing it.
Absolutely. It is a more modern way of looking at it. The word thrown out again is equitable. Is it more equitable because it considers multiple factors as opposed to just one person's net income? That's the idea, and that's the goal, I think.
And that doesn't impact the maintenance aspect. That's just the child support.
That's right. So we have a fairly new statute with regard to maintenance. In January 2015, our statutes I don't want to say changed, but they were fine-tuned to put in a specific maintenance formula for courts to apply if they felt that maintenance was appropriate. And so that statute does not change in terms of calculating child support. But what I will say, and this was true to some extent before, but if a person receives maintenance, their maintenance counts as income when we're looking at the income sharing formula.
Okay.
So if they get maintenance, that combines with their former spouse's income minus what they've paid to the other spouse, and it's all combined together, and that's how we apply the percentages.
You know, marriage, especially with children, is a complicated act, so it's not surprising that it's complicated to untangle that.
That's true.
That's true. What other laws are coming in that's impacting family law that we should know about?
Well, that's really the biggest change that's going to take place, but there have been a lot of other changes within the last couple years. In fact, as of January 2016, our whole Illinois Marriage and Dissolution of Marriage Act, which is the Divorce Act, was basically overhauled, rewritten. So there are a lot of tweaks, adjustments, things like college expenses in terms of limiting parents' obligation to the cost of in-state tuition at the University of Illinois. As I said, the maintenance formula or guidelines, those are fairly new. There are some other tweaks to how courts can look at property division. So there have been a lot of changes in the last couple of years that people should definitely know about, especially if they're thinking about getting divorced.
How do we find someone to help us? It's a very emotional time, and I think it's important to have a good relationship with your attorney and have that person understand you and you understand them.
Definitely. This is a long-term relationship. We're not writing a contract and that's the end of it. This could be, unfortunately, a multi-year relationship, depending how long a case takes, or if when people have children, there's sometimes issues later on. So I would say if you know someone who's had a good experience with an attorney, that would be a good starting point. I say do your research online, but don't trust everything you read online, because for good or bad, things aren't necessarily always what they appear to be when people write reviews or other things. But I think you can get an idea or flavor for an attorney when you see, have they published material? Do they present to other attorneys? Or what do you know about them that you can find out through the internet? But really the face-to-face, doing the consultation with the attorney, actually talking to them, feeling like if it's a good fit, that's really the best way to know, to the extent you can.
What is it that drove you into family law? Why family law for you?
Well, I would say there's never a dull moment in my life. I really enjoy helping people, and I am helping them through one of the most difficult transitions they have. Really, a divorce is like a death in the family. People don't know what they should know or shouldn't know, so I like being a resource. I like being in court. I like advocating for my clients, and I really feel like they appreciate me and also, of course, the firm, helping them through that difficult process.
Well, you certainly need an ally during that difficult time.
You do, absolutely.
And so I can't think of a better one. Thanks for dropping by and sharing with us the new laws and something to keep in mind. So important to be informed.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with more Business Connections. Stay tuned.